Hello and welcome to today's session. Welcome back, guys. So yesterday, what happened was not great. So basically shot up to the S3, the R3 on the UK. That was my ideal kind of trading scenario. Got in short and basically the market just powered up. Could have held it for some time and then gotten all the way down to the R3. But, all in all, quite a bad trade. So it's a bit unfortunate, but that's trading. So I got out. I took a loss yesterday because I was shorting this move up. So that's that. So it happens every now and then. I was hoping that we'd come down and fill the extreme gap, but it didn't happen. On the DAX today, so the market powered down. We kind of had a nice rejection actually off the confluence down low where I was talking about where I would be looking to buy, so that's great. Went all the way to the close gap for almost 100 points, well, a bit over 100 points, so really good trade there. Anybody, I guess, who listened to, I mentioned that this level in particular, if it did get down there, I would be quite keen to have a look at buying that if it happened. As long as you closed out at least at the pivot or the close, you would have done okay. Obviously, even stops to break even would have been fine. But then from there, we powered down. Massive movement short. There must have been some news here as well because all the markets had this big spike. And kind of rejected off that. Today, what we're looking at is... I'll just have a quick squiz at what's going on today. So we've got 5 minutes. We're opening on the close gap. So basically where the market closed, we're pretty much there. So it's a very efficient market. When it's efficient, it's not ideal for us as such because we like to play on inefficiencies. And, we need those inefficiencies for the market to actually give us opportunity to get some high probability movement in our favor. So in this current situation, we're basically going to need the market to move quite rapidly into one of the levels on the MT5 chart over to the left. And then on the Tradovate, we're using that, as always, to determine whether that level is stable or not, or basically going to cause a reaction. So the type of activity, it's perfectly laid out here, actually. So we've got very thin volume moving up, followed by a big ask order, which would indicate that that's a sell limit, and then followed by what I'd expect if this was in market, and let's say the level was right here at the 24,256 level, and then we'd expect that market to pull back down. So that's the kind of layout and structure that I'd look for, but a lot bigger than 15. So if you saw, say, 50 or 100, maybe not 100, but less than that, say even 40 or 30, it starts to paint a bit of a picture and give you some evidence that perhaps that level is being watched by some of the bigger players. And basically you need them on your side to be able to move the market around and get in and out of the market for a profit. So we're basically going to need the London session in 3 minutes time to really move this market in a particular direction to get any sort of opening bell activity. The German market, or the DAX, is already open. It's been open for almost an hour. However, you can see that there's been barely any movement really, and we're waiting for the London session in 2 minutes time, because what the London session will do, it will bring the volatility to some extent, but unfortunately it's not going to, it's unlikely that it's going to provide a lot of volatility for us, because the two times of the open are separate now, so there's an hour's difference. So I guess the Germans come in and then UK comes in at different times, so that volatility is more spread out. It leads to a smoother market, and also we're opening on the close. So hi Christopher, thanks for joining. I'm glad you can make it. Saw you mention that you usually work and then you kind of check these out about 4 hours later, so great to see you here. So because we're opening near the close in about a minute's time, I'm not expecting too much volatility. I could be wrong. And of course, we come and watch the session just in case there is that volatility, because in particular, if we get up to a, let's say we get to the breakout short, for example, or even the R1, any level really that's got a bit of distance in it, we can potentially see an opportunity to get in, and coupled with the order flow to indicate that we're going to react. So this candle here is a very good kind of representation of what could happen. So thin volume, big order on the ask side when it's coming up, representing a limit order or perhaps some stops for buyers. And then that's effectively selling the market, pushing it back the other way. So obviously this situation, it didn't react, but this is the kind of candle into a level that we'd be looking for. So very light volume, quite a bit of movement, followed by a big order. So almost open here, guys. So we'll watch the open, see if we get that volatility that we need. German market, I believe it was open. So the daylight savings really moves things around. German stock market open time. German stock market open time is 9 a.m. time in Germany. 9 a.m. Okay, so something's moved. In the next, so as of next week, London's time daylight savings will change, and we'll be back on the same time. So London's on a different time, I thought, though. Something with the time is different at present, and I believe it creates, quite a bit of a kind of a strange situation in terms of the open. So we really don't see the reactions that we normally see for about 3 weeks, and it's often a period that if you are trading the normal way, the way that I normally look, it doesn't really work. So, if you're guessing in this kind of activity and there's no levels being struck, it just doesn't pan out all that well. So we're getting a nice reaction here, 14 contracts there. We'd really like it to go up into a bit more of a level, because 14, while that's good, it's not quite what we're after. So I'm hoping it will continue higher, but that could be the reacting figure. So see how it's got really thin volume, hits the 14 ask contracts, and then the market's pulled back away. But, it's really still in the middle of nowhere. I much prefer trading when it runs into so where are you based, Christopher? So London is changes on Sunday, I believe. So London daylight savings time. So it changes on the 26th of October, so in 3 days' time. On the Sunday. So as of Monday the 27th, the time zones do confuse me a little bit. Okay, that makes sense. So it's the platform time coupled with all the daylight savings, but basically, all in all, there's about 3 weeks of funny activity where I guess the levels aren't being met. The volatility is a little bit low during this early session, so it is a bit frustrating. The other thing, I'll just check the time on this. So that's the 10 o'clock candle. There is a period where the 9 o'clock candle is the opening candle on MT5. So when you're coding, an algorithm, basically you can't necessarily hard code the time, because because of those daylight savings changes at some point during the year, for only a few weeks, I think it is this period of time, in October, the opening candle is separate, and basically that can sort of throw a whole algorithm out if it's not factored in. So again, very mediocre open. We are outside the Bollinger Band on the 5 minute, but we haven't quite hit the pivot. We're getting a decent size order here, but it's just not really enough to get me excited and say, right, I'm really confident that this is going to turn around from here. It seems that people are layering on more orders there as well. So we're up very close to 24,300. Yeah, no, you're completely right. So that's what it is. It's the US. Thanks for outlining that. I was really having trouble getting my head around who changed what. So yeah, it turns out I didn't even check the US because it's not something that I normally consider, I guess, when trading the European session. So we've got 30 contracts there. We'd really like to just go a little bit higher, but we are, I guess, at the 2 days ago low. It shouldn't really play a part, but sometimes these things play a part. I'd really like to see this push a little bit higher before I take any action at all. And that's the other thing to remember. Sometimes it's okay to just not trade. If you're not confident with what you're seeing, there will be days every month pretty much that you'll be able to see what's going on, and you'll say, right, this is a really good setup. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. That's fine, because all the characteristics are pointing that the market should go long or short from where it is. Bit more pricing activity here. I'd really love to see this market hit the pivot before it turns around, but we can't control that. We did hit the 24,300 on both futures, so the FDAX full and the mini FDAX as well. Yeah, exactly. So did you think it was, Chris, did you think it was going to reject off the breakout short, or were you just looking to blind sell kind of thing, or what was your plan yesterday? Very close to that pivot. I'll just check the distance on that one. So it's about 60 points from the close gap. It's really kind of stalling, and that's where I can get stuck personally as well, is if the market is a bit slow, and then, for example, it builds up a bit of momentum and pushes through this level, and it's the patience factor. I'm not necessarily reading the levels. I'm looking at the time thinking, right, this is taking forever, this must be where it's going to turn around. And that's a bit of a trap for even experienced traders. I think, if it's not getting through that level, and you just think, right, you get in too soon, and then the market continues in the direction that you kind of expected in the first place. Yeah, excellent. It definitely had a solid down day yesterday, so well done to anybody that did get short. Yeah, it's quite boring this session. It's building up quite a bit of volume here, and I'd love to see it turn back around, but it may not do that. So look, the order flow is saying that we should start turning. I'd love to just get a little pop up, so some really thin volume followed by another ask order to really turn us back around. Just this kind of activity, it's not all that convincing, and wouldn't want to put my money on it for a number of reasons. So, A, it's not really there. There's no clear target lower because we've already filled the close gap at the open. And if you get short, you've probably got to have a stop way up here, which is miles away, and then the risk reward starts getting a little bit tricky. So that could be sort of 90 points away. What I'm going to do while we let this play out, I will have a look at the UK. So we've broken the previous day's high. We'll see if we can get a rejection off one of these levels, but we don't have the futures data through Apex Trader Funding. The Oz market kind of had a nice, I guess, volume accumulation, just bought up to that close. So quite easy trading really on the ASX. Fairly close levels on those pivots. Let's have a look at the US. Broke through that yearly breakout long just for an excellent short as well. Could have bought nicely off that S2 as well, so there was quite a bit of activity. So yeah, probably 170 odd points that you could have taken out of that move. You'd have to probably manually close that, so it's not overly ideal, but still a good trade nonetheless if you were able to get in. And the Nikkei, quite strange on the Nikkei, so we didn't really hit a level. And we kind of just hovered in that range, very tight range really for the Nikkei, so quite boring day there. And we're sitting on the close gap for the US as well, so very efficient markets across the board. You know what, I'm on a 15-minute, so I should be on a 5-minute. I probably would have been triggered into getting short on that last 5-minute candle. But it's just not that good of a trade. So, my trading brain thinks, okay, it's slowing down, we've got a bit of volume here, the pivot's right there. I'd love to get short, but the risk reward just isn't really there. So for me to get interested, I'd really need the market to move a lot more. Again, the levels are also quite spread out. So if you see these two levels here, they're very close together, and that forms quite a tight bond, and often the market will react to that kind of structure. Looks like the pivot is finally reacting here. We'll see if it can hold and continue, but this is the kind of activity that often gets me roped in. So yeah, quite a boring layout today. Unfortunately, I'm probably not going to watch this for much longer. It's not really the type of trading condition or setup that I like. We're outside the 5-minute Bollinger Band. We're outside the 15-minute Bollinger Band, so it's not too bad. For any punters out there, I guess, why not? But if you're more on the professional side, the risk reward perhaps isn't there unless you put a really tight stop in, but I don't particularly see any reason why the market can't just push through this pivot at this moment anyway. The evidence just sort of says, it exists, but it's not really super responsive. That could just be my impatience and the lack of volatility talking, but that's just what I'm kind of seeing for now. So I'm just going to leave it there, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Again, just basically watching for the levels. If we reach a level with a bit of momentum, so a nice long candle, followed by looking at the order flow using Trader Dale's book, that's all I'd be looking for today. There's nothing really pertinent to today's trading that I can help with, unless we get some motion, of course. Best of luck with your trading, guys. Chris, thanks for clocking in and checking it out again. Hopefully next week, once the daylight savings all align, then hopefully we'll get some better trading and some of the reactions that I normally see at the open. Because probably the last 3 weeks it's been quite slow, and I guess good opportunities to put pending orders, for example, if that's your thing. But I much prefer to get in and out at the open, and we're just not getting the volatility at the open to make it worthwhile for the risk reward that's kind of presenting itself based on these pivots. So anyway, guys, thanks again. Best of luck with your trading today, and we'll tune back into